If you have a side hustle already or you're about to start one and you want to eventually turn it into a full-time business, then you need to hear this. I transitioned a side hustle into a full-time business, but it actually took me a lot longer than it should have because I didn't know this roadmap in advance. There are signals and signs that you need to look out for before advancing to the next step on the roadmap, and I actually made a pretty big mistake myself when I was figuring this out. I'm going to tell you what it was so that you don't make the same mistake and you don't waste your time and money. My name's Andy, welcome to the channel, and the first step on the roadmap is to make revenue. This means you're making some sales. So whether you're running a product-based business like a Shopify store, or you're selling on Amazon, or whether you're running a service-based business like gardening, cleaning, graphic design, social media marketing, anything like that, the first thing you need to do is make revenue or make some sales. What this means is that people are interested. There's at least some interest in what you're offering, and that is a great sign. What we're looking for is the green shoots, so like the signs, the first small signs that, hey, there's something here. There is actually a legitimate business opportunity here, and that you're on the right track. Like, you might be driving all over the place. You might be taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but at least there's something happening there. People are interested in what you're selling. So if you're new to business, one of the first things you're going to have to get to grips with is some basic accounting, and most importantly, the difference between revenue and profit. So when I first started my first sort of proper business about 10 years ago, I didn't really have a good grasp on my profit margins. So I sort of had a rough idea. I'd heard the words, but didn't really have a solid understanding. And I didn't have a solid understanding on what my profit margin was for each product. Now, what you're going to need to do is understand your profit margin for each product that you're selling, or if you're selling a service, you need to know how much profit per hour or per job you're making. Because in my first year in business, I'd actually made about $20,000 in sales, and I thought, this is going all right. I felt like I was making some profit, even though I couldn't really see the money in my bank account. But then when I did my tax return at the end of the year, I was pretty shocked to actually discover I'd made like a couple of $100 profit or something ridiculous like that. And I was like, what's happening here? And it was simply because I wasn't making enough profit. I wasn't factoring in all my costs. And ultimately, I just wasn't charging enough for the product I was selling. And that's why the second step is to make some profit. Like I said earlier, as long as you're making revenue, that's a great sign, and we've got something to work with. And as long as you're not sort of losing heaps of money each week or month, then there will be tweaks that we can make to just tip the balance in your favor and start making some profit on that sales or service, whatever it is you're selling. So the first step is to work out your current profit margin, and to do that in as simple a way as possible, we're going to use the following sum. So your profit margin on a very basic level is your revenue or amount you earn minus your variable cost minus your fixed costs. Now, what you have left over is your actual profit. Now, obviously, the easiest way to increase your profit margin is just to increase your prices, but you need to be very careful about this, because if you increase them too high, then you may find that customers are no longer willing to buy your product or service for you. They just don't see the value there. If this happens, you could actually lose enough revenue that you end up making less money than you were before you raised your prices. Another way to increase your profit margins is to try and reduce your costs wherever you can. So for example, if you run a product-based business like Shopify or Amazon, can you find a cheaper supplier, or can you buy in bulk? Can you use cheaper shipping methods? If you're running a service-based business, is there a way that you can work more efficiently? Maybe there's some tasks that you're wasting time and money on that aren't of even really any value to the customers that you can sort of cut loose or at least reduce in order to save costs. So probably a good way to do this is just to get a spreadsheet up with all your costs on there and really go through it line by line to work out what you can cut out or at least reduce. Now, if you have high fixed costs but low variable costs, you're actually in a great position, because you'll probably find that if you just increase your revenue, then that will actually tip the balance in your favor, right? Because you're making more revenue, but your fixed costs remain the same. And then what's left here, that's your profit. An example of fixed costs might be something like, rent for your shop, or something like that, monthly insurance that you have to pay, things like that. Maybe not so applicable for a lot of side hustles, but there definitely will be some costs that don't increase as your sales increase. And yeah, so if you've got high fixed costs and low variable costs, you're in a great position and it's probably time to start scaling your business. But I get it, it's absolutely brutal running a side hustle, particularly if you're also working full time in a day job at the same time. And you're probably thinking, yeah, Andy, that sounds nice, but I literally can't make more revenue without more time. I'm already working before work, after work, etc. like that. There's literally not enough time in the day. And that's when it may be time to take the next step, which is make more profit. And to do that, you may need to go part-time or at least reduce your hours. If you're making revenue and actual profit, even if it's just like enough to sort of cover one day's wages, then you're in an amazing position, and yeah, you should really consider going part-time. And trust me, having that extra time to put into your side hustle that isn't like 5 a.m. in the morning or 9 p.m. at night is going to feel like an absolute luxury. And I guarantee you will see an uptick in results because of that extra time and energy that you're now able to put into your business. I suspect that your revenue and profit will be going like this. And then as you go part-time, the trajectory will just change dramatically. You'll definitely notice the uptick in it. And you'll be well on your way to reaching that final goal, which is, of course, working full-time in your business and quitting your day job. But we all have living expenses, so exactly when you reach each stage is going to vary greatly from person to person, depending on your individual circumstances. For example, if you're in your early 20s, you have no family to support, and you're, just renting a room in a share house, you'll be able to move through the stages a lot quicker than if you've got a mortgage to pay, you've got kids to support, things like that. Yeah, it's going to just vary greatly. So I can't tell you when is the right stage to move from stage 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4. That's something you're going to need to think about and probably discuss with your family as well. Also, a lot of jobs aren't actually going to let you go part-time, and some of them will just sort of laugh in your face at even the suggestion of it, to be honest. So if that's the case, you'll need to ask yourself if it's worth changing your job. You might feel like you're on a good deal at your current job, so that may not be an option, or you may not be able to find part-time work in your industry. Then you could maybe consider, are you making enough profit to then just add some gig work, such as Uber Eats and DoorDash, or even just like an Uber driver, to supplement that, to bring your income up to where you sort of need it to be to cover your bills and things. If that's not possible, then unfortunately you may just have to hang in at your full-time job a little bit longer and keep on struggling for just a little bit longer until you're ready to make the big jump to going full-time in your business. But what you don't want to do is quit your day job and go full-time in your business before you're ready. And this is actually a big mistake which I made. I was at stage 3, and what I probably should have done is found a part-time job. What I did is I quit my full-time job to go full-time into my business, and I didn't realize at the time that I wasn't making enough money to do that. What actually happened is I'd built up quite a bit of cash flow in the business. That just got completely sucked out of it to support my living costs. And then before I knew it, I couldn't actually even afford stock to then sell. And then I basically had no way to operate my business. That then meant I had to go back into the job market, find a full-time job again just to build up my cash flow, both personally and in the business. And had to do that basically just to get back to where I was before. I probably wasted about 6 months doing that. So with that said, I think it's definitely worth trying to go part-time if it's possible, even if that means just dropping a day. So if not, then I'm afraid you're going to have to wait a bit longer, maybe build up some savings. That would be a great idea before you are ready to take on the final step of living like a boss, which is quitting your day job and going full-time in your business. It's what we're all trying to get to. That's the big goal. It's an absolutely massive milestone for anyone. You can do it. I believe in you. Let's talk about that. So I sometimes see the advice saying, just save up enough money to live on for 6 months. Or 3 months even, and then just quit your job, and then you'll make it work during that time. But if you haven't gone through the other stages of the roadmap, so making revenue, making some profit, making more profit, it's very, very dangerous, very risky. In a way, I admire the confidence of doing that, but you need proof of concept. You need to be sure of the following 3 things. You need to know that people want what you're offering. You need to know that people are willing to pay how much you need to charge for that product or service. And finally, you need to know that you, on a personal level, have built up the skills and experience necessary in order to succeed in your business. You don't need to be perfect and you don't need to know everything. In fact, half the fun of being an entrepreneur is jumping out of a plane and figuring out how to build the parachute on the way down. It's a cliche, but it's so true and I love it. But real talk, a lot of us have families and commitments, so we do need to be a little bit sensible, just a little bit. And look, to be honest, it's a bit embarrassing if you sort of quit your day job to go off and be a millionaire business tycoon, and then 3 months later you're phoning up your old boss asking for a reference because you need to get a full-time job again. Trust me, I've been there. Now, just to give you an insight into my current situation, I was at stage 4 for a few years. My business was going very nicely and it was supporting the lifestyle that I wanted. My circumstances have changed a bit since then, and I'm now actually at stage 2, I'd say. I'd probably be at stage 3 if I didn't have a young child. So like I said earlier, that sort of illustrates that it is going to be different for each person depending on where you're at in life. If you want to follow along with my journey of getting back to stage 4 at the same time as you get to stage 4, then make sure you hit subscribe and we'll get there together. We'll be like Sam and Frodo on this great adventure. And if you hate your day job, watch this video next, because it's going to give you some really useful coping strategies that you can implement, both long-term strategies and day-to-day strategies, to help you keep sane in a job you hate.